What's going on YouTube? Welcome to episode 78 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we got kind of a long one, 32-minute episode. We're going to be continuing our work on the primary shuttle bay. Really, we're going to be flattening out the walls here on the sides and adding in some detailing in the roof and then also the floors. Going to be kind of working our way back. So this way, once we get this front area completed, we can start focusing on the back area, which we won't get into that in today's episode. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. And of course, if you haven't, please join my Discord channel. I do have a Discord up now, and I have a ton of really cool things going on with the Discord channel. All my new latest updates, you get notified on Discord. Also teasers for my new builds that are coming out. You can check those out on Discord. Also a great way to keep in touch with me. And if you're also having trouble with your builds, you can post your builds in there and I can try to help you out if I can, or if you just want to show them off to the community. But getting back in what we got going on here, you can see that I've built a straight line here off of this first pillar here, and the reason I'm doing this is because I'm identifying where our wall is going to be, because this was something that I was talking about in some of my previous episodes, and you see we can only go back so far, so we're going to have to make sure that quartz block stays there, but we're trying to identify where our actual wall is going to be, because sometimes when you're building these ships, there's going to be a trial and error period. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to throw something down, see how it looks, and if it's not coming out exactly how you want it, you can go back and make changes, but at least we have this to go off of to see what changes are needed. And that's why I just kind of determined, like, after letting this marinate for a little while, that the walls, they should just be clean and just be straight going back, at least in the shuttle bay. I think it was worth trying though, because what I tried to do and why it has these cut lines is I was trying to go off of the ceiling. So now I'm going to try something else. I'm actually going to go off the corners of each side of the wall here, so I'm going to be bringing them in by 2 blocks. The third block actually will be the one where we'll be putting a new row down, just to make sure that we're lined up right. We're going to do the same thing on this side. And it ended up being perfect. So we're looking good. And this is actually going to work out because we'll have some room on the outside now, so this way we can blend in the entry way into the shuttle bay and the walls together, which will be kind of nice. So now we're going to kind of start to facade out our ceiling, and we're going to be doing that on every 3rd row. So we'll have 2 block gap in the middle, and basically what we'll be doing is we'll be filling that in with sea lanterns to give it a nice lighting effect in the ceiling. What I ended up doing for this specific area, I don't think I pulled up any screenshots while I was working on this, but I did use screenshots from various sources. The main one, and I've talked about this a lot, go on YouTube and do a search for U.S.S. Enterprise D tour, and the one that you want, it should be one of the first couple of links on YouTube. It's the tour on the Unreal Engine. You want to skim through that. I believe it's actually in the very beginning of the episode, the video, where they go through the shuttle bay, and some really just awesome material to go off of here, because this is again one of these rooms that was never really shown in the show. They always went out of the secondary or tertiary shuttle bay, so we needed some type of reference material to go off of, and thank God, there's fans out there that have either found loose concept art that we just can't find anymore, or maybe interviews with the writers from TNG that they were able to develop these fleshed out shuttle bays, at least for the primary one. The primary shuttle bay is actually freaking massive. What we have here, I think is going to be a nice tribute to it, but ultimately it's going to be a lot smaller than what the Shuttle Bay needs to be, or not necessarily what it needs to be to what it should be. And I mean that's okay, you know, because at the end of the day I had to scale this down just a little bit to make sure that it stayed in render distance for the whole ship, so I can get my proportions right. And the cost of that is that some of these areas that have been developed out, we're going to have to make them slightly smaller. So not really a big deal, but we are going to flesh this area out quite a bit. And this is actually, when it's all said and done, at least for the primary shuttle bay on the Enterprise D, will be the biggest shuttle bay that I've ever done. The shuttle bay on the Cerritos can fit inside this thing. That's how massive this is. Now the ceiling won't be as high as the Cerritos, but that's really because of the shell that we have to work with. You can see that we've pretty much got a 3-block diameter to work off here on the sides, and we're just going to run with that. Now, will we be able to have shuttlecraft in this first area right here? Maybe not. And if we do, they'd have to be too high, so it's not like we can have something super big. But when we get towards the back end of the shuttle bay, that's where we can have our shuttles added into the ship, which will be pretty cool. So you can see I'm going off the middle block here, off my template in the front. I'm just bringing this line straight back, just filling in the access. I'm not worrying about the gap in between on the other side of the wall, because at the end of the day, that's going to be closed up. Once you seal it up, nobody's ever going to know that it's there, and kind of is what it is. Now there is going to be a 1-block cut line as we go back that we're going to have to shave off, but that's not going to be a huge deal. We can make adjustments to that. So now we're going to fix our yellow pinstripe line for the floor, now that we have our straight line established. Looking pretty good. Oh, and of course, I didn't mention this. I hope everybody had a happy and safe holiday. I was actually thinking about whether I was going to have episodes out this week, because I'm actually getting ready to go on vacation. I'm going to be going out of town on Thursday, and I won't be back until Sunday of this coming week. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to be going to the parks here in Florida, and that'll be a lot of fun. But I was thinking about, I'm like, well, you know, should I take a break? I'm like, nah, I'm like, I'll just put, you know, my 3 episodes out. I'll make them on Sunday and have them released throughout the week. So this way there's going to be no gap, at least for right now, in the episodes. I might take a short break Christmas week. I don't really know. I'm going to play that by ear. But as of right now, I'm not really planning to. I'm trying to get out as many of these episodes for the Enterprise D as I can, because, you know, we're already on episode 78, and I'm not showing any signs of slowing down. So I'm not sure how many episodes this is going to go out to, but it's going to be a lot. But, you know, this is kind of what it's going to be, what's going to be required of this build to get it right. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but, you know, I've got a lot of cool stuff on the channel coming. So if there's some builds you want to see me do, be sure to drop a comment below. Let me know in the comments section. Let me know in Discord. Definitely love to hear from everybody. But I can say, after the Enterprise D, Voyager is going to be the next build. But after that, I'm going to really start utilizing Discord and doing polls on my Discord channel based off of the feedback I get from people in the comments section. I'm going to use these comments to populate polls to see what ships people want me to do next. So definitely join my Discord channel, because, you know, this is something that's still new, but I think it'll be a great asset for my channel going forward, and it'll be a great way for me to keep in touch with people. And I'll have a link in the description below, so this way you can join. But so far we're looking pretty good in our build here. You can see we're cleaning up the sides here as much as we can, getting rid of our quartz blocks in favor of the white concrete as much as we can there. But on some of the rows here, it's going to be a little rough, because then we're going to be on the outside, so we have to go back by one, like this first block here, for example. But we'll clean this up as we go. Right now we're just trying to do as much as we can, then we'll do another pass by and really blend in this wall here with the entryway, because it's really not done. We really just have our template to where we can blend in at an angle the sides here and make it kind of look like it's one piece. But see, that looks great. Aside from this line right here, I have to clean that up. But we'll get that. So let's get our lighting in here. We're going to be doing just quartz, or excuse me, not quartz, the sea lanterns on the in-between gaps in the ceiling. Now I'm just going to do this straight across on each row and just go straight back and fill in all the gaps. What we will do, I don't know if we'll get to it in today's episode. It's probably going to be one of the future episodes. We're going to come back and do more detailing in the roof. But it'll be easier just to swap out a couple of blocks here and there. So that was the main reason why I'm just filling it all in with the sea lanterns right now. Even though by the time it's all said and done, we're probably not going to have quite as many as we have right now. There'll still be quite a bit because if I remember correctly, when I was looking at the screenshots that I had gotten for the primary shuttle bay, when you look up at the ceiling, it does have a massive stretch of lights, very similar to what I'm building now. Now, they're not exactly the cyan color that the sea lanterns are, but we're kind of limited to what we can do on here because at the end of the day, I'm not using any mods on Minecraft. The only thing that I'm really doing is just using free texture packs and the grid pixel pack that you can get on Minecraft for like $4. And I've actually, if you haven't added this to your build yet, go on my U.S.S. Cerratos build tutorial. I have an episode on the grid pixel pack, and I show you what order to put them in, so this way you can have the same exact setup that I have. Because this is something that I really wanted to make a point to do on my channel, that anything that I do, I don't use mods to do that. Anybody can just come and do it. Now, with that being said, at some point I've kind of flirted with this a little bit, that maybe at some point I might do something with mods, but that's all pending that I can get my controller on my PC to work with Minecraft. For whatever reason, they just don't want to work together. And normally what I can do to get around that is just have Minecraft launched through my Steam app, but for whatever reason, Steam doesn't recognize Minecraft. So that's kind of the problem where I'm at right now. I don't necessarily want to download all these programs and mess up the setup that I currently have. So I'm still trying to figure that out. It's something that I want to do, though, because of the ray tracing update that's on the PC version of Minecraft, and I have a computer that can run it. So it's something that I do really want to do at some point in the future, but I'm not necessarily in a rush to make it happen. Any event, we're looking pretty good right now. We're getting our lighting in, and then once we get done with this, we're going to be getting just a little bit more detailing in. But this is really going to help not only brighten up the room, but it'll make it look a little bit nicer because, you know, it's important to get your detailing in, not only in the shape of your room, but also the color palettes and different things that you want to add in. Just why I say, you know, it's very important to pay attention to your details and look at small details that you can incorporate into your build, because if we spend all this time to build all this out, you know, what's the point in not detailing the hell out of our interior, you know? It's looking pretty good, and trying to think of any Star Trek news. I know that Star Trek Discovery Season 4 has come out, and I believe the first 2 episodes have released, and it actually, Season 4 hasn't been like terrible. I think so far it's been better than Season 3, but I don't know if anybody else feels the same way. I'm kind of getting tired of their monumental threat to the galaxy that keeps happening every season. This is why I think that Star Trek Strange New Worlds can freshen up the Star Trek franchise a little bit more, because in just my honest opinion, I think that Star Trek has kind of gotten just a little bit stagnant, doing it the J.J. Abrams way of just having one monumental threat or villain after the next and just, keep it going. I don't know. I kind of like, I've got a little fatigue on that. Like, every season it's been something massive that's going to stop the galaxy. And of course, now they have something else with I won't get into it. I'm trying to dance around it for those of you that haven't seen it. But those of you that have, you probably understand exactly what I'm talking about. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong and it'll turn out to be something really cool, but I think that there's just other things that they can do with Discovery. One of the things I was hopeful for within the first episode was they have this huge ceremony about how Starfleet is going to be going back to its roots and exploring. And I was like, okay, I'm like, this could be cool. This is kind of like the direction that the show needs to go into. And then, of course, they get hit with the next massive threat that's going to end the galaxy. And I just really haven't been feeling that. And like, that's kind of just been like my feeling with Discovery so far, that it's come close to giving me what I want. But at the same time, I feel like they've just kind of dropped the ball a little bit because they're just maybe trying to keep a younger generation interested. Where I think you can do that if you just have really clever writing, which is, again, something I think that's just missing from Star Trek right now, in favor of leaning on giant special effects and action sequences. But we'll see. Hopefully, when Strange New Worlds comes out, that'll fix that issue, and we can get back to episodic Trek and really having some cool storylines. You can see how this cut that I'm making, the floor, I'm counting it out, but it's not fully going to be even because of that cut indentation here on this wall. This is something that I have to fix, and like I said, it's easy. It's so easy to make a mistake on here if you're not paying attention. Even when you are really paying close attention, you could still very easily make a mistake on here and not even realize it. But this is one of the reasons why the rules that I make, go back and check your work. So this way, even if you do overlook something, you can still catch it and fix it. Now you can see what I'm doing right now is I'm just going down to my secondary shuttle bay, and I'm looking at the detailing that I did in the floor because I want to do the same thing here. So this just ties into carry over your design cues as you go room to room if those design cues you think are necessary over in that next area. So this way, no matter whether we go into the primary shuttle bay, secondary shuttle bay, or tertiary shuttle bay, they feel like it's in the same ship. That's really the point of doing this. See, what I'm doing right now is I'm counting out my center. This is honestly the easiest way to do it. You just count out the entire block radius that you have and you divide that. And even what I'm doing right now, I'm not necessarily winging it. I'm using my reference material that I got when I was watching the video on the U.S.S. Enterprise D tour in the Unreal Engine. So definitely check that video out, because those of you that are really wanting to flesh out your Enterprise D just like I am, that'll give you a lot of inspiration to go off of. As you can see here, we really can't go down that much, but we have just enough room to where we can detail the floor, and it's not going to hinder at all the next deck down, which is very important. Some of this detailing that we're putting in the floor is subject to change because, again, you got to throw something down, see how it looks, see how it flows with the ship, and if we need to make changes, we make changes to it. This is why one of the things I say that I never, once I build something, I'm never dead set on it, because you never know. It's almost, building stuff on Minecraft is almost very similar to like drawing or working with a piece of clay. Sometimes you just have to keep, once you get something going, you have to just develop it and make changes as you go to see what is going to work and what's not going to work. And unfortunately, doing it in this way, it requires a lot of patience, because building in this method, you're not using this method, you're not going to just throw something down and be and get something that's perfect the first time around. In most cases, sometimes you will, but in those cases where it doesn't come out exactly how you want it, what I'm trying to say is don't let that hinder you. Use that as an opportunity to think, okay, well, what works about this and what doesn't work? What can I change about this? What did I do that kind of came out good, but maybe it's not perfect? What can I do to maybe make that look a little bit better? These are the things I think about when I'm building my ships. And when you start to think this way, I promise you, you will get better as a builder. It takes a little bit of time to develop that skill. But a lot of it has to do with what you're trying to build. And again, this goes back into use your screenshots. Work easier, not harder. But again, in some cases, we're inevitably going to run into it as we're working on this ship. We're not always going to have screenshots to go off of. There's going to be areas that we have to make stuff up. So the best way to deal with that is just maybe to try to find other reference material for something else. Maybe whether it's related to Star Trek or another show or something that's not even science fiction, maybe something that's real, that maybe you can transition over into Star Trek to make that, to flesh out that area the way that you're trying to. That's the one thing that I liked, not with the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, but the second one. I thought that it was actually kind of clever that they used. I think it was like, I can't remember what the science experiment that they used, like from New Zealand or Switzerland or wherever, where it was like an atom chamber. And that was actually the warp core from Star Trek Into Darkness. So it was a real test area that they added some facades to make it feel like you were on engineering of the Enterprise. And I didn't mind that. But the first movie where they went into the beer processing plant, and the Enterprise from that movie felt like it was a brewery, that I didn't really care for. I think that was a clear case of using the wrong reference in the real world to bring your own ship to life. This is why I say that it's crucial sometimes to, take your time and think about how this is going to impact your build, what it's going to make it look like. A lot of the times, what you can do, and what I've found at least, not so much with the Enterprise D so far, because I haven't really hit that this blockade yet, because it's just been a slow grind to flesh out the ship. And this was really, the comment I'm going to make now is based off of the Constitution class. But a lot of these areas that I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, or I just had no reference material to go off of, what I would do in that case is look at aircraft carriers, because essentially it's the same thing if you think about it. Even though it's, apples and oranges, at the end of the day, it's still a vessel that it's military based. Whether Starfleet, you make the argument, is directly military based or not, it's still that type of ship, and you can get a lot out of that if you start looking in the right areas of the ships, to get a feel of how they are, and it can inspire you to build certain areas. Like a perfect example, how my crew quarters came out on the Constitution class. That was directly referenced from aircraft carriers, because there's no way in hell that whether it's an aircraft carrier or a starship, maybe in the Kelvin timeline they would, but because they made the ship so huge, but typically speaking, a starship isn't going to have enough room to have crew quarters for every single crew. So I got that off of the aircraft carriers, which is why I say that you can totally grab references from things that aren't directly related to Star Trek to help you flesh out your build. Now, I do want to get back a little bit what I got going on here. You can see that I'm cutting out lines on the wall here. And I'm going between the gap of the sea lanterns. That's where I'm coming up with that. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is because this is a detail that is in the shuttle bays, even though my secondary and tertiary shuttle bays don't have it right now, but they will. This is something that I am going to go back and add, because if you watch season 1 of Next Generation, I don't know if it's so much in the later seasons, but I know for sure when they first showed the shuttle bays, when you look at the walls, it has like this line work going on to make the walls look like paneling. And that was something that I really wanted to transition over into my ship, because just to give a little bit of flavor on the walls here, you know, to kind of flesh it out just a little bit. And I still can't believe that I'm just missing this cut line right here in the back on this wall right here, that we need to get rid of this whole area right here. There we go. Now it's about time. I finally noticed it. It only took 25 minutes for me to spot it out. You see, now we deleted this wall here. We have a bit of a gap that we, those of you may or may not notice, but we're going to be utilizing that gap that's on the other side of that wall there when we start to flesh out our shuttlecraft docking bay, I guess you can call it. Because there needs to be an area on the primary shuttle bay at least, where your shuttlecraft would land. The area that we're standing right now is really more of like a loading and unloading area, but it's not necessarily an area where you would keep all the shuttlecraft when they're not being used. Really, that's for the back end of the shuttle bay, which we'll get into. This is again one of the other reasons why it looks like I go off of a template or I have some type of blueprint. And really, the fact of the matter is, like within this specific scenario, I don't have a blueprint, but I've taken the time to plan out what I'm going to do. And this is so imperative when you're working on your ships. So rather than just building something random, you're not just spinning your wheels and maybe throwing down 50 different alterations or variations that you're not really set on. You stop for a second, take your time, think about what you want to build. So this way, when you actually go and do it, you have an idea of what you want to do. You can make something that looks that much more better. This is why a lot of the times when I build on here, it looks like I really have built this before, but really it couldn't be further far from the truth. I've just taken my time with it. That's why I say that patience is such an asset on here that you really need to have if you really want to build out a detailed ship. Having the patience to take your time on things, and knowing that maybe if you're not exactly sure what you want to do, to step away from that specific area long enough to come up with a game plan of what you want to do. And using that time in between to do some of the things I discussed, like looking up screenshots for other Starfleet ships, concept art, looking up screenshots for ships in the real world, like aircraft carriers and different class ships. These are all things that you can do to really flesh out your ship and make it stand out from other builds. And this is what I've done to make my ship stand out. This is why my ships look so fleshed out, because I take the time to look up my reference material. And I promise you, you do the same thing, and this is again what's going to separate your build from everybody else's. And Yeah, see, this is what I was talking about here with the sides, how we can blend it in going at an angle. But I think that top row there, we're going to swap that out for quartz, just so it matches the side here. And see, that right there wasn't even doing anything drastic, just using a simple template going at an angle. Now that looks a lot more like it's one piece than it did before when it was flat. I don't exactly remember off the top of my head if this is exactly how the entrance or the sides of the entrance to the Shuttle Bay looked. This was more of what I felt was needed on my build at the moment. But I believe, yeah, because I don't think, at least for the sides right here, I really spent too much time looking at the model or a 3D model. I just kind of went off again on what I had and how to make it work. See, that's another easy fix right there, to have the gray to bring that straight back. We'll do that on this side too, so it feels again more like it's one piece. What I could really do is do a half slab right there. There you go. See, that doesn't look too bad. Now that kind of blends it in a little bit. Even though it looks like you need a half slab right there, there's not that much that we can do about it. What we can kind of do to make that blend in a little bit more is do a lip on the sides, the half slabs, just like we did in the lower section of our Shuttle Bay. Well, not the lower section, but the secondary and tertiary Shuttle Bay is what I mean. And see, that's looking pretty good. With every bit of detail that we do here, we're getting closer and closer to matching the screenshot that we had for this episode and the other episodes for the Shuttle Bay. We're looking pretty good so far. We've gotten a decent amount of work done today, actually. Haven't really made it into the back area here. We've really just been focused on the front section, but we've gotten a lot of work done in a relatively short amount of time. We've really just shot by 30 minutes of record time. It really only felt like 15 minutes. And now we're going to do this bit of detailing with the half slabs, and I think that's actually going to wrap us up today. So what I'm doing here, I'm looking what I did on the left side, and I'm making sure that the right side matches. Because again, if you do something on one side and it's supposed to be that way on the other side, you want to make sure those sides match. This way you have consistency. Because when you start losing that consistency, that's when your builds start falling apart. And we're going to really do everything that we can to avoid that here. But we're looking pretty good. Pretty happy with the progress that we've made so far. And I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And of course, if you're new to the channel, be sure to join my Discord. I'll have a link in the description below. And there's a lot of cool stuff going on with the Discord channel. And I hope to see everybody there. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up today. If you have any questions regarding today's episode, be sure to drop a comment below or let me know in Discord, or if there's any builds you want to see me do, or if you're just dropping by to say, hey, definitely love to hear from everybody. But I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know in Discord.